Welcome to the Law School Insider, where we have conversations with students, lawyers, and employers.
Succeeding in law school is something that you must prepare for, not only before you begin, but throughout your law school journey, and that's what this podcast is all about. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Lewis, and I will draw from my over 20 years of experience in the college admission field, as well as bring forth the experiences of others as we delve deeper into the issues. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Law School Insider. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Lewis, and I'm so excited to be able to have you back again this week. This week, we have James Weirick, who is a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel and Judge Advocate lawyer who has spent his entire career, or much of his career, advocating for military justice, but also working in the military justice system. And we're going to be talking to him about his experience in the military justice system, talking to him about what that experience was like, but also talk a little bit about his experience through law school and how that prepared him for his career. James, thanks so much for being with us this week.
Dr. Lewis, thank you for having me on.
I was really excited to be able to have you on. We didn't get to connect at Podcast Movement, but I had heard about you and saw you, and I wanted to definitely have you on the show because of what you're doing and what your experience has been. And I know that you spent many years in the military and also working as a judge advocate. Let's talk a little bit about that experience, because I think a lot of people see lawyers or may even think about being a lawyer because of what they've seen on shows like JAG or they see things on NCIS or, lots of different things where they see lawyers in action. But many of the shows from many over the years were dealing with military justice. That brings people into the profession. And some people, I know people that I interact with on a daily basis, many of them say, I want to be in the JAG. But it's not an easy road, and it's not always easy to get into. So can you demystify a little bit, talk to us a little bit about the experience as a judge advocate, your role, and some of the things that you learned in your career?
I'm happy. First of all, every branch of the service has either their judge advocates or JAGs. That's the generic term for military lawyers. And I spent my entire time in the Marine Corps, but I worked with all of the other branches through many joint tours. So I've interacted with Air Force lawyers. I have friends who are in the Army and, of course, in the Navy, because they are the Marine Corps' parent service. We actually go through them for our military legal training. We do that up in Newport, Rhode Island. So I've had a great wealth of experience working with all the judge advocates from the different services. And as far as beginning a career as a judge advocate or a JAG, there's about 3 different roads. You can start being in the military previously, and then you're an officer in one of the services, and then apply to go to law school. That's usually funded by the service. Secondarily, you can do it, just go to law school, and then apply at the end to just become a judge advocate in one of the services. And third, you can do it the way I did. I actually joined the Marine Corps, and then I went to law school. So during the time I was in law school, I just acted as a student. No one would really know, other than my short hair. They wouldn't know I was in the military. I didn't wear a uniform day to day. I just showed up for law school. And in the summers, I went back on active duty and did work as a lawyer.
Now, I know that over your career, you've dealt with many different cases, many different issues as a judge advocate. What are some of the main things that a judge advocate focuses on in their day-to-day activities?
I would say there's 3 main focuses of a judge advocate. You either have trial services, and that's either being a prosecutor or defense attorney. I served in both of those capacities, both at the trial level and at the appellate level. So you have those 2, and then you really have in-house counsel for the command. You work as sometimes they'll be called the SJA, the staff judge advocate, or there's some other names for that. But generally, that is assisting the commander with all the legal issues that go into being in command. Whether that be with personnel issues, it can be contracting issues. There's a huge, vast ability to have experiences in many different aspects of the law within the JAG course.
Now, I know that you have been working to reform the military justice system since your retirement. And talk to me a little bit about what you're trying to do and what are some of the changes you're trying to bring to the military justice system.
Oh, actually, thank you for mentioning that. And I want to get out of the way here because some people view this as I've had a negative experience with as being a judge advocate. Nothing could be further from the truth. I loved my time in the Marine Corps. I love the people I worked around. I think anybody thinking about going into and being a judge advocate is well served. It is a great community of people. That being said, I've been working to change the system a bit. That it's not a criticism of the people in the system. It's some changes to the system. For example, it's not that we don't trust federal judges because we give them lifetime tenure. We just know as a legal system that there are certain parts of being a human that we have to protect from, and that's why we have lifetime tenure to keep some of the problems out of the system. The same with the military justice system. I've been working to take some of the power out of the hands of the commander and moving that to a lawyer. As it currently stands, the commander acts much like in the federal system, much like a U.S. attorney, except he has some additional powers that really skew the system. So I've been working with members of Congress and through my own advocacy to try to get the military justice system more in line with civilian justice.
Well, it sounds like it's not an easy road, but it's definitely one that needs to be looked at and needs to be examined, which all of our laws need to be examined and all of our systems need to be examined every once in a while too. So I applaud you on doing that. I know that you also have been taking the experience that you had from the military and trying to talk to others now about not only your experiences, but also about their experiences and delving a little bit deeper into the issue with a new podcast that you've opened up called Task and Purpose Radio. So talk to me a little bit about the podcast, what you're trying to do with that, and some of the things that you've been examining so far.
Well, Task and Purpose Radio was started by, first I've got to make sure that I credit my producer, Lauren Katzenberg. And Task and Purpose is overall a large resource for veterans and current military members. They have a lot of writing. They do a number of other things. So she wanted to include a podcast. And we started that podcast to follow the second season of Serial and the ongoing prosecution of Bo Bergdahl. So I came in as the lawyer. So I gave the legal views, but there was also Nate Bethea. He was a member of Bergdahl's platoon, or a member of Bergdahl's unit during the entire deployment. So you get both of our views, and you can still find those at Task and Purpose Radio.
And I'll put a link to that in our notes today. I haven't had a chance to take a listen to it yet, but I would definitely want to because I did listen to the first season of the whole following of that case. And to hear your perspective from a military law perspective, I think would be very interesting versus what we're hearing from the original podcast as well. I'm looking forward to listening to it, and I'll encourage everybody to take a listen to this, especially if you've listened to the first season of the podcast following the Bergdahl case.
Well, and actually in the shameless self-promotion arena, I'll be coming out in the fall with my own podcast called Just Military Justice, and I'll be updating everybody on the Bergdahl case. Because although the coverage of Serial stopped, we're not even halfway to trial on the Bergdahl case, so there's still a lot of legal issues to follow.
Well, this is a perfect place to plug that because, and maybe we'll have to have you back to maybe talk a little bit more about that as you're learning more from your end to be able to talk further because especially with the people that are listening today, everyone here has an interest in the law. And this is definitely an interesting case to take a listen to, as well as to watch from afar.
I'd be very happy to do that, and especially to answer any questions that your listeners might have, especially the younger people that are either in law school or thinking about going to law school, and what they can do as far as a military legal career.
So let's go back a little bit in time, because many of the people that are listening have a passion for the law. They want to go to law school. They may not be in law school yet. So walk back to when you decided you wanted to be a lawyer. What was it about the law that first intrigued you?
I got to say, I think it was the system of rules that governs us all. I'm interested in that and making sure that it was applied across the board equally to everyone. And I'm not sure, it's hard to pin down the exact time I decided I wanted to be a lawyer, but I know that especially once I got to law school, I had a great interest in ensuring that everyone was given a fair look by the law, that everyone was equally punished, equally not punished. And I think that really guided my career and has guided me as a person. And it's been my passion during my time in the military and my time after the military.
Now, as you were going through law school, was there anything specifically that you did to prepare yourself well? And it may just be that you were in the military and that may have prepared you well. But for the career that you were getting yourself into, and you chose going into military justice, military law, but for someone else that's in law school, coming into law school, that may not be in the military, what are some things in law school that they should be doing to prepare themselves for a career in military law?
Well, I think what I did that was helpful for me, I approached law school differently than I approached undergrad. I took law school as a job. It was an 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job during the week. And I think that kept me in good stead in that I wasn't looking to have Tuesdays off. I wasn't looking to have all the free time or, extracurricular, maybe party activities that you would have as an undergrad. And because I went back to the military every summer, that kept me in a rhythm throughout my law school career. So I just always kept it as a job and as something to do, again, 9 to 5 every day of the week. That helped me a lot in my law school career. I had good grades. I didn't have problem with the bar exam. And for anyone starting law school, that's what I would recommend.
I think that's great advice, because a lot of students do come in and think that they can do the same things they did in undergrad and have the same experiences that they had in undergrad. And law school is different. And I tell students that all the time. And I think you echoed that in what you said too. Now, I know you said that you may not have done some of the extracurricular things, but were there other activities or things that you did that helped you to be able to be successful in your career? It might have been being involved in different organizations or being involved in other type of activities on campus.
I was still active in activities on campus, and I with the barristers organization, and I kept my professional contacts and my interactions with other students up. But when I say I wasn't as involved in extracurricular activities, maybe it's the going out and partying aspect. So I think it's still very important for students to be involved in the student community. And you can do that in various ways. I did volunteer work and did taxes for underprivileged individuals. And that was something that I brought into my career later, and did volunteer tax filings. So that was something I definitely did during my law school career that served me well afterwards.
Now, I know that you just said that you kept up with your contacts, you kept up with your network, and sometimes people have a challenge in building that initial network for themselves as it relates to the law and as it relates to their future profession. Are there certain things that you did to help to prepare or that helped you to create that network for yourself, or to maintain that network that might help, that you could share some resources, tips with those that are listening?
I think you should I think a new law school student would be well served to look for people that have similar interests that you for their long-term goals. Do they want to be in public service? Do they want to be in private practice? Do they want to be involved in criminal law? And once you find those people, just develop those relationships. It doesn't have to be formal, but just so they're people that you keep in contact with. I know that there's a number of people I went to law school with that I later called on for information or guidance. And those were all more informal relationships that I developed during law school that just flowered through my professional career.
Well, those are great tips, great hints, and I really appreciate you sharing those. Are there any other helpful hints, tips, resources, anything that you want to share today that would help someone find the success that you found in your career?
Just enjoy your time at law school. It really is. I really enjoyed law school. Involve yourself in learning. Keep challenging yourself to learn and prepare as much as you can. And think about your clients. I know it's hard to because you haven't had any yet, but some of that volunteer work can get you some experience with clients. And I think that helps motivate you to learn as much as you can in law school. Like if we took it into like medical school, you would want to be able to save your patient. So the concentration in law school, some of that motivation is you want to be able to help that client. So everything you're learning in law school has a goal, an end goal of assisting your client in some of the most difficult times in his or her life.
Well, I truly want to thank you for being on the show this week. It's been a pleasure having you on. We'll definitely have to have you back again as you start your podcast and talk further about the Bergdahl case, because I think that everyone here would find that very interesting. And I wish you the best as you continue to work on the reform agenda that you're working on in the military justice system, and look forward to hearing about future successes that you have in that and in your other pursuits.
Well, thank you, Doctor. It's been a pleasure.
Well, that was another great guest this week on the Law School Insider. If you have an interest in being a guest on the show, drop me an email at lawschoolinsider@cooley.edu. And thank you all for listening today. And remember, you have the ability and right to take control of your law school's success. I hope you'll continue listening, creating a plan for success that will prepare you to achieve the dreams that you have set for yourself. Talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. You're on your way to being a law school insider. Please subscribe to stay connected and come back again next time as we speak to more students, lawyers, and employers.